If I'm trying to create something, bring your idea, put it in, and then believe in me, and then I believe in you. If I say that if you spark up the idea, bro, we can make it. You know what I mean? Today I got my man Jean Paul. AP, is that AJ? AJ could film.
Hi, my name is Jean Paul Terrence, and I'm a photographer and filmmaker. Filmmaking, because I gotta actually plan the actual film, I gotta get the ideas rolling, and then when the finished product is done, I'm just like, wow. And like the feedback I get from my videos, from people that are like, yo, that's amazing. It's a lot more than what I get with my photos.
My name is Chaluba, and I do film photography. Yeah, everything's just raw, like as I take it, and I don't like editing. It just changes the moment of like that image. I guess I've always been creative. Like I paint, and yeah, I do collages. So it's just another thing that I wanted to pick up and see where it takes me.
No, actually, I didn't start thinking about this until like not too long ago, to be honest. I'd be lying if I said I did do a bit of creative stuff, just not photography or filmmaking. So I kind of never saw myself doing this, if I'm being honest. It was like a couple years ago, almost 2 years ago. I watched this other video on YouTube. This guy, he was a Canadian, no, American guy. He made this video in winter and it was snowing, and like the cinematography was just on point. Everything, the snow, everything looked perfect. And I was like, you know what? I can do this. If he can do it, surely I can do that. And I just started then, and here I am, doing it. I'm pretty sure he told you this. This is like an emotional song.
Yeah.
So like pretty much this whole place is like a wreck and a mess.
Yeah.
My thoughts are just look for the trashiest place in this whole thing, and then shoot that. In the end, I'm thinking having moved from that whole trash place, and then sit next to that beamer, shoot onto that beamer, showing. And he's putting in all the work, starting off struggling, and then ending up. Well, that's
ending
the
up
goal.
at the beamer. Okay.
That's the thought behind the video.
I'm trying to chill and
I know that I can be selfish and narcissistic and self-destructive, but underneath all that deep down, I'm a good person, and I need you to tell me that I'm good.
Hey, goddamn, I got a letter on my chest.
Please, Diane, tell me that I'm good.
Goddamn. Yeah. Goddamn. 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 Here we go again. Goddamn. Can you feel my pain? Goddamn. Goddamn.
I started filming on my phone actually. I recorded this short film of a trip I did with my sister. We went to Barcelona, I think. Everyone was like, "Yo, what camera would you use for that video?" I was like, "That was my phone." So from that point on, I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna do this. I need a camera. I need gear and all that. And then started looking for cameras.
What are we doing today?
Oh, today we're doing a video photo shoot for Alphabet, which is happening in June. And yeah, these are photos that they got for our campaign, and it's called Reclaim. So whatever you might be reclaiming, reclaim it with us at the event. Yes.
I'm actually
Or sideways.
him like just over there.
That one?
Yeah. Just standing like.
He's more of a model than me. Give him all my clothes.
I'm actually working on a project with another graphic designer called Tisyan.
My name is Sion Faliki. I make digital collages. The process is mainly finding images on the internet that are vintage from Africa, from postcards. And then I'll use Photoshop to combine them with other abstract images that I make myself. Oh, it's been really exciting actually. I didn't expect to have for it to be so receptive. And people are really supportive of the work that you're doing. It's quite a small community, but it's really, really nice just to have people that are interested in the same things that you are. It helps me relate better to where I've come from and also the other stories that similar people have to share. It's really nice like looking for the images and looking through what I can find because they have their own story and then I get to mix that with the story that I'm trying to create.
In order to identify yourself as African, I think you have to have some sort of relationship with where you, not necessarily where you came from, but at least with the continent in general.
I think it's important to connect with like your background because you can have a better understanding of where you're going in the future, and also it's important to like not forget what different aspects make you as a person and your identity. So, yeah.
We are the future of Africa, and therefore we have the right, and I think we have the capital and the resources to change and create the change we want to see in Africa.
It's nice that we can all sort of connect together and try and help each other in that sense, and try and form networks and sort of break new grounds, I guess.
I grew up in Scotland, so for me, like, I haven't been back since I left.
The last time I've been, I think, is 5 years ago, so not too often, but in the future I'd like to go back a bit more.
I was the only black girl at my school and in like the town that I grew up in. So for me it's important to like maintain that connection with where I'm from and just the traditions that I was taught, yeah.
And for myself, I moved to, I think, Perth when I was 11. And basically, since I finished high school, I've been getting involved in finding ways to connect with African youth in Perth. So that has been through my interest in creating events, my interest in creating fashion stores, and also I'm very, very interested in traveling the entire African continent, and not just visiting it, but also getting involved in charity work and just bridging the gap that's between Africans who are raised here and Africans who are also raised in Africa. Yeah, so anything black, okay, I like and I enjoy.
I think some of the photos that I take, it's either based on like my own insecurities as a black woman. So I try and like see somebody that I admire or like that I think is beautiful, then try and showcase that beauty. I don't really get to see a lot of African women showcase like that in Perth. We need a lot more platforms to like showcase more African creatives.
It was Irene had recently lost her job, so she had come over to my house and we were just talking about things that we could do, because I think there's like a mentality there's like this job mentality that goes around that you should be waiting for your next job. So I was encouraging her to find something that she was passionate about and to do something that she could do in the interim. And we're talking about her doing maybe like catering. And then it just came into this thing of, oh, why don't we create an event where we celebrate Africa and then make a bit of money on the side. We got a few people involved in this, and eventually an idea for a huge event, which is like a culture fest, an African culture fest came about. And then within 2 weeks, African Collective was born.
This quote by Andrew Kelly resonates to me like no other. My cracks are my favorite.
The Perth creative scene at the moment is mainly whites, and it's really hard to like get in and yeah, just make yourself known in that community.
I guess it's not very diverse. Yeah, it depends like from what perspective you're looking at it from. It's kind of nice just to have that niche because yeah, sometimes there is no diversity in other areas, and then you go to that niche to be active in a community that is similar to you.
I feel like the mainstream focuses on people that are doing well, people who are already famous, when there's like a lot more people that are just ordinary and they have amazing stories that other people can learn from. I want to be that guy to tell their story, the little guy's story.
Yeah, definitely. When we first came, there was nothing. Like
absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
I think just being African was weird.
So I guess we try to talk about certain topics that we think we're struggling with in our community and try to break those stigmas and see how we can like sort of better ourselves. We did like a discussion talk with like young people and parents, like African parents.
Yeah.
One of my family friends, they came and the first question they asked me was, oh, so when do you start med school? And I was like, oh.
It's also really hard after like being taught that this is not really something that you could do as a career, and it's not something that in the African community that they'll be proud of. So it's always been hard for me to pursue it as a career.
At the time I didn't know how to say, oh, like that's not really what interests me, but yeah. So there definitely is like the pressure.
My work? Well, my older brother studies architecture, so he kind of gets it, he has the mind for it. I have an older sister and she's quite artistic herself, so it's okay. My parents, I think they think anything you're doing is good because of your parents, but it's kind of difficult to communicate like an artistic career to traditionally African parents. Yeah, so maybe in the future if I'm more successful they'll get it.
I don't know. I mean, I came here when I was 12, 13, so I don't say it did influence me that much. It influenced my parents a lot more on like the sort of thing they push me to focus on, and it's not photography. I think, how do I put this without offending them? They don't think I can make it as a filmmaker, but I think I can make it, so that's what matters. That's why I keep doing it every day.
Yeah, I love it. I do it as a hobby, and hopefully maybe in a few years I can do it as a career.
And it's like, what, you think we exist?
Yeah, I know, because you think that you'll just be like one or two people, but you have like a lot of messages and people saying, I have this that I'm passionate about and I really want to showcase it. And it's interesting to see that people are actually wanting to show themselves beyond the African community. Because if it's for the African community, we want to be doctors, lawyers, engineers, you know.
What do you mean creative? What is that?
But then there's actually people that want to go beyond that and actually showcase their talent as well, which has been really exciting. They look at things a bit differently than we do. So when we're growing up here, we're picking up the culture that is Australia, but then we also have African culture at home. So we're merging all of that together. So when we are coming to the Australian community, we're not fully Australian, we're not fully African, and there's like that kind of displacement.
I'm a first generation Australian and my parents are refugees. So I'd say I have a mixed sense of identity. It's like a constant process of trying to figure out where you belong between the two places.
So they'd say, oh, dude, you could be doing other things. You're smart enough to go to uni and study. Well, there's no point in just doing something because you can do it and just to make money out of it when you can do something else that you really love and it's what keeps you going. So I prefer filmmaking over whatever else I could be doing because I like this, it's my passion. And I can definitely see myself, if I was 100% committed to this, I can see myself making it.
Stress, goddamn. Here we go again. Goddamn, goddamn, dying slow. Goddamn, come, comfort me. Come, baby, be with me. Come, breathe, can't sing to hold on. Goddamn, goddamn. Mama kadring gatoya.
You do it so you can connect to them without having to tell them what you're doing. And the type of issues that you're covering and the stories that you're covering are the issues that you have between your family and your parents.
Because in the end, our parents do want the best for us. So they become very open to the reality that that is something that you are going through and that is something that is deep, and they open up.
I think the best thing about like being like a child of immigrants or refugees is like your future path is pretty open. You don't really have anything in front of you.
When I was growing up, I was always like, oh, I wish there was this, I wish there was that, and I was always kind of looking at the eastern states. When I visited Melbourne, the girls who were there were doing really, really inspirational stuff, and then they were just like, instead of like complaining about what's not happening, then create what's not happening, because there's that opportunity. So that's what Perth is like. It's like a really huge niche market where there's like a lot of things that need to be created, and a lot of the things that do need to be created have already been done before, which means you can easily bring it over to the West and create something and make it your own and get people involved. And I think now it's like It's a lot more fun to be in Perth.
Yeah.
It was dry before.
Yeah,
Perth was dry.
for sure. My advice would sort of be, yeah, just go for it, go get it, you know. Don't feel like you have to wait for someone to do something, and that's usually how all of these great organizations are formed. It's from one idea and actually trying to further it.
And I think at this point now we just have to continue being innovative with whatever we do, and that way you keep pushing the movement forward instead of the movement being stuck at one point.
Things have definitely changed. Maybe like 10 years ago, for me, the idea of sort of like even sharing my culture with non-Nigerians or non-Africans would probably, you know, make me a little bit scared or a bit skeptical to do that. But yeah, now there's no issues with that. I think, you know, it's something to be proud of, and it's something that I definitely want to share with as many people as possible. Yeah.
I think we're only going up.
Oh, going up, I know. I think there's going to be greater representation of Africans as well, especially in Perth as well. Like if we keep on doing things like this, hopefully we can get more artists that are going bigger and doing more, and just not only, you know, hearing about it in places like Melbourne or things like that. Hopefully we can have artists that come out of Perth and dominate from there. So I think it's gonna go bigger. It's definitely gonna go up. Yeah.
You go through so much, and like you just want that, even if it's one person, it takes one person to just say, hey, you can do it, I believe in you, you know? So let's get that more often in the African scene and see what we could do. Let's get that I believe in you instead of you know? Oh, nya, nya, nya.